Welcome, I'm your host, Malcolm Gallagher. From our BizVision studios in the UK, you're watching the BVTV network. With over 40 years experience in the marketing and management within the hospitality, food and drink sector, I'm passionate about the business, and especially those who start and develop a food and drink business within this area. The time is right to start that food and drink business. The pent-up demand is there. But if you're going to do it correctly and make money, then it's not just a question of making some cupcakes in your kitchen and hoping the cupcake fairy will wave a magic business wand over you. As I can testify across those years, a little expert help can put you on the right path to success. And I mean expert help from someone who's been there, done it, and perhaps won and shredded a few oven gloves along the way. So I'm delighted you can meet our expert today as we say hello to the founder of Brand Relations, Richard Horwell. Welcome, Richard.
Yeah, hi, Malcolm. Thank you for having me on your show today. I'm very pleased to be here.
Yeah, well, we're socially distancing, you in London, a wet London, and us in a wet Northumberland, but that's the way life is at the moment, isn't it?
Getting used to Zoom.
Yes, right. Richard, I'm delighted you kindly guested on the BBTV network, especially for our Business of Hospitality channel and our Silverpreneur channel. In this BVTV talk, I'll be chatting to Richard in three parts. First part, I'll talk to him about developing a new food or drink product or concept through to financing it. In part two, we'll move to talking about making it, taking it to market and gaining those vital first sales. And in part three, we'll talk about not only keeping it going, but also growing it. Richard, before we get into our three-part talk, can you please briefly introduce yourself to my viewers and listeners? Who is Richard? What's your story? And why your passion for the food and drink sector?
Hi. I started Brand Relations 13 years ago, 2007. And since then, we've been behind over 100 brands. We started off more as a marketing agency to help sort of smaller businesses get started and entrepreneurs that didn't understand the industry. Then we started working with European companies that wanted to come into the UK market, and their communication and branding was completely wrong. So we helped them change their messaging and improve their sort of look and feel to appeal to the sophisticated UK market. And then finally, we started developing our own products. I developed my own and sold it all over the world, and then sold the company to a Dutch billionaire. But we help people who want to go from start to finish. They walk into our office with just a small idea, and we turn it into reality. We get it produced. We do all the branding. We do all the designs. We do everything they need to be able to put it in front of the buyer, and then we put it in front of the buyer and get them some listings.
Excellent. Yes. And this is the tough part. And that's why I believe that you need this expert help. You taking your cupcake concept I was talking about beforehand, that's not real food and drink in reality. Today, we need to be growing and starting and growing a business. And the UK has got a tremendous amount of respect for it. So let's kick off our chat in part one by talking about developing a new food or drink product or concept through to financing it. What is it that entrepreneurs need to know that they don't get in the usual business startup advice or standard textbook they can pick up from any chamber of commerce or bank? What's your thoughts on this whole initial process?
Well, the worst thing is before COVID, a lot of people coming into my office who had done absolutely no research. They've been traveling on holiday and they picked up a product and they thought, yeah, well, this would be great for the UK market. Or they'd make something up in their kitchen at home and mum and dad and granddad and everything like that have said, this is a great product, go and do it yourself. The most important thing that I say to people and the way that we help people is to research, because very few products I see have been done time and time again. Have been done, are completely unique. They've been time and time again. Maybe they've been wrong, maybe they've been right. So the research is, you can go and see in somewhere like Chile or Australia or somewhere that somebody's done the product and maybe they've done it right, maybe they've done it wrong. So you can learn from what their mistakes are and what they've done correctly.
How important do you think, by the way, just as an aside question, it is to have something that's different, zany or, unique? What's your thoughts there?
Well, a lot of people come in with exactly the same product saying they can do it bigger and better or cheaper. You will go through millions and get nowhere. You do need a point of difference. You've got to have something that people will cross the street to go and buy. It's got to be something that's unique, innovative. there's a lot of products coming out now that are unique and innovative. There's a lot of people who seem to think they can do a better energy drink or another kombucha or another one of these. It's the market needs to have something new and unique, and I'm seeing a lot of that, a lot of innovation coming in now.
Yes, yeah, I agree with you there, because obviously we've got to change, haven't we? Pandemic may have brought more interest in the planet, so plant-based products may be the way to go. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely plant-based products are increasing. There's been a 24.6% increase in wellness drinks, to give an example. If we're talking about plant-based, then yes, I mean, the whole vegan thing has gone off massively. Yeah. And we wouldn't take on necessarily a dairy product or something like that, because that's a very difficult audience now. That's what we call the new adopters are the people that come in and buy drinks. 50, 60-year-olds don't tend to change what they're drinking or go out and try new products. The people who try new products tend to be between 25 and 35, and they look on the shelf and they're prepared to pick up the bottle and read it and understand what it is. And those are the sort of people who are going very much towards plant-based products.
Now, I did mention in my opening piece about funding, and I'm finding quite a lot of investors are interested now in food and drink, but they're looking for the conscious business, the one that's socially got the social pound in the back of their mind. Have you encountered that yet?
Yeah, what I've encountered at the moment is that a lot of money has been thrown into food and drink because of the pandemic. Everybody seems to think that this is the one area for growth, and it is the one area for growth. But a lot of investors, big investors, are absolutely chucking millions at it. I see products out there that I don't think necessarily will make a massive return, but they seem to have raised large amounts of money. Yeah, and I understand what you mean, that you've got to have you've got to be the right product, and you've got to be looking after the environment, and you've got to be ticking all the right boxes.
Yeah, I do. One final question before we move on to part two, and that's something that we're very proud of our activity here at BVTV. It's the gender agenda. The woman entrepreneur who found it hard to get backing and funding and that with their ideas. Are you finding a lot of women entrepreneurs coming along to you?
Yeah, definitely. And probably because of the industry that we're in, they tend to have a lot more finger on the pulse, because I don't want to make it sound like they spend all their time in supermarkets, but they're very perceptive as to what's working and what isn't. So yes, we've had quite a lot of female entrepreneurs come in here. They're Excellent. Very, very aware of trends, and very, very aware of, they're very aware of food and drink and, what's happening in the marketplace, probably more so than men.
Okay, and I'll just encourage those women entrepreneurs listening to us there to go and chat to Richard. But before I go on to part two, let's just remind people and viewers and listeners of your website URL, which is all the W's, brandrelations.co.uk. For listeners, that's brand, B-R-A-N-D, relations, brandrelations.co.uk. Richard, time for part two. And it's time to push the go button. Let's move to talking about making it, taking it to market, and gaining those vital first sales. What does our food or drink entrepreneur need to know from an expert like you?
Wow, you're talking about what takes 3 months to sum it up in a couple of minutes.
Yes, I know.
The most important thing, the most expensive word in our industry is education. Okay, so if you've got a product that needs education, you're going to spend millions. The most productive and cheapest way to educate a consumer to buy your product is on the shelf. So you've got to make sure that your branding and your messaging on your food or your drink or whatever you're doing stands out and communicates with your target audience. And this again goes back to the research of understanding who your target audience is and what stimulates them to buy your product. So it's very, very important to make sure that you do that. And then when you do get the product out into the marketplace, you've got to go to the places that your target audience will go to shop. So that it's pointless if you're going to a premium end product and then going to Lidl or something like that. You need to start looking at where you will need to understand who your target audience is and where they shop.
Yeah.
So that you can actually
and how they shop as well. I mean, I presented many events around the world on marketing food and that. And one of the most illuminating exercise stories I had was I was in a bar for a strange thing, having a drink in Detroit, and I got talking to the guy next to me, and I said, "What do you do?" He says, "I sell donuts." And, well, who do you sell donuts to? I said, he says, to Walmart. Well, I know Walmart are one of the toughest buyers around. So I said, that must be tough. He says, no, because I don't sell donuts. I'd had a couple of Jack Daniels by then, so I was a little bit trying to work that one out. And he says, yeah, I sell return on investment on the shelf of that supermarket. And Tesco have always said to me as well, if you want to know how to sell to us, show us precisely where on the shelf your product should go. What's your thoughts with buyers?
Yeah, okay, that raised a good subject. I've had quite a few clients come to me, and the first place they want to go is the Tesco's or Sainsbury's or Morrison's. That is a big mistake, because what will happen is the type of shopper that goes into the big supermarkets is in there trying to get in there as quickly as they can and quickly as they can out. So they're going around the shelves. They're not prepared to stop and learn about a product. So when new brands come in there, they're not prepared to stop. They're not prepared to stop and actually read about it. So that is an issue. And so quite often I see new brands that will go into Tesco's. That'll be their first listing. Tesco's will give them a 3-month trial period. The trial doesn't work. They get delisted. Nobody else will buy them.
Yeah.
The premium retailers don't want something that's been rejected by Tesco.
Yeah. So what are you saying? You're thinking that people say, well, if the old mouse trap thing, I've invented a new mouse trap, people will beat a path to the door. They won't, will they?
No. And, one of the things that I've spoken to many clients and said, why have you not spoken to Whole Foods, or why have you not spoken to this one or whatever? And they say, oh, yeah, I sent them an email, I didn't respond. They're not likely to respond.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's about persistence and not being a pain. It's about being, persistent and, trying to be creative, trying to be different to the rest of the people that are out there. Yeah. I tell the story about how one year just before Christmas, we put all the samples of the products we were doing into a Christmas hamper and sent them all out to all the buyers. And the buyers are ringing me up going, thank you, but I can't accept this. And I'm going, it's only samples, right?
Yes.
They thought they were gifts. And we got a lot of listings off that because we were doing something out of the box.
Yeah.
Whenever we send samples out to clients, we don't send them a case of the drink. What we do is we put the actual products in a beautiful display box. We make it like it's a gift. And then when they receive it, the first impression is the best impression. So it's really engaging and exciting and going, wow, I've just got something here. And it's very hard for them then to say no.
Yeah. And just before we move on to part 3, just reminding people again about your brand relations. You kindly sent me your PDF portfolio about brand relations, which obviously anybody interested in starting a food and drink should get it, because I think that gives you a really good story, not just about what you do, but what people need to do to be able to make it work. Thanks, Richard. Now for part 3. And a vital part, if money is to be made and debts paid, let's talk not only about keeping it going, but also growing it. I've helped many in the sector grow, but some just cannot get their head around the scale-up process. What's your thoughts?
I see a lot of brands out there investing a serious amount of money, millions upon millions, just in the hope that the Pepsi or Coca Cola or something will come along and buy them out. You can't rely on that. And it's just what you need to do is you need to make a self-sustainable business that can actually pay the wages. And to do that, you've got to have a plan, and you've got to grow organically. If you want to go from 0 to hero in 100 miles an hour, then the chances are you'll go to the wall. And it's an industry you can spend millions. I've had clients come in here that have spent well over £1 million and haven't really gone anywhere because they've tried to go somewhere very, very fast. The thing is with this industry is you need to grow organically. You need to get a following. You need to get people believe in your brand, and then you need to work on that as a base and expand it. And it's a slow process. It's not, you're not going to get rich quickly. And the business I had, I started it took me about 6-7 years, and I never made any money in that 6 or 7 years. And I was using brand relations to support that. But, eventually someone came along, a Dutch billionaire, and bought it. That's where a lot of the compensation comes in. You may not be driving a Ferrari off the sales of your food or drink product along the way. But, if you do create your own niche market, then somebody will come along and buy it.
Yeah. And how important, by the way, on that purchasing is the brand reputation and its visibility?
Well, that's what they're buying. They're not necessarily buying the product. They're buying your target audience, the brand reputation, and the visibility. For Coca Cola to pick up a product that complements the rest of their range, they're prepared to pay a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
So yes, that's important. It needs to be. If people, I mean, it dilutes the brand, no doubt. When Coca Cola bought Innocent, I'm sure that diluted the brand, and everything sort of changed. They went from being these loyal followers to being, oh dear, Coca Cola had bought it. So at the end of the day, we're all in it for money. We're not just necessarily just to make friends.
Yeah, yeah. And that's where the management bit comes in. Sometimes I found that people find it hard to let go of the baby and into the growth, and understand that they need to understand things like ROIs and so on like that. Again, do you find it hard to transcend into from the baby, the startup, that's my baby, into being a manager?
I think the biggest issue is that people don't seem to understand what sort of percentage they need to give away for investment. Yeah. I've had people, talk to me about, we've just gone and charged them a fee to set up this business, and they're trying to say, well, I've got somebody interested in taking a shareholding, but I've told them for 5%, I want £1 million. I'm like, you can't justify that. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. So you're right. They think if it's my baby, and I've done it, and they see all these people selling shares of their company for lots and lots of money. It isn't. You've got to try and work with people and be realistic. It's much better to have a small piece of a large company than a large piece of a very little company.
Yeah. I would encourage all people that want to get into food and drink to start off thinking business, rather than just the product itself. I go to meet many, and I'm asking what's your turnover, what's your costs, and things like that. And sometimes they have not the foggiest. Yeah.
But one thing I do want to say is about when you are building a brand like this, in the initial stages, you're better off, using sort of friend, family type money to build up something to prove there is a market for it. Then once you've proven there is a market for it, then you can go out and get outside investment, and you'll get it at much better terms than if you try and get it as seed investment.
Brilliant advice, Richard. Brilliant. Today has been a real treat for me. I've been able to chat about my passionate sector of food and drink with a real expert. I trust you've been inspired to get your business going and growing. Many thanks, Richard Horwell, for a great interview.
Thank you very much. And you talked about my website kindly, and I would appreciate if people went and read some of the blogs, because there's a lot of good ideas in our blogs that we've written on there.
So everybody go blog read at brandrelations.co.uk.
All right. Thank you very much, Malcolm.